हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
हरे कृष्ण। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनच्छलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। सप्तकांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम राम। ज्ञानतिमिरच्छलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। चैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः तदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादा सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत तप्तकांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपरेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते राधानाथ स्वामी नामिने नमः। ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य कम करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातं हम वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवं श्री चैतन्येश्वरं। हरि ओम। हरे कृष्ण। जस्ट गिव मी अ सेकंड। हरे कृष्ण। So, like to welcome all the devotees to our Bhagavad Sangha this Saturday evening. We are continuing our discussion on the ninth chapter of Canto 7. This is the beautiful recollection that Srila Narad Muni is sharing with Yudhishthira Maharaj of the beautiful pastimes of Lord Narsimha and his pure devotee Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj is offering wonderful prayers. Hiranyakashipu has been killed. The Lord is not yet pacified. Brahma, Shiva, Lakshmi express their incapability to approach the Lord and pacify the Lord. And finally, they all approach. Actually, Brahmaji very specifically tells, the Lord has come for you, please you go in front and talk to him. So very humbly, without really much of a preparation, Prahlad Maharaj very humbly goes and offers his Dandavat pranams in front of the Lord, and the Lord is so satisfied to see Prahlad. As soon as Prahlad Maharaj touches the Lord's feet, is offering Dandavat, the Lord is so happy. The Lord raises him up, keeps his hand on the head of Prahlad. Prahlad is transcendently rejuvenated. We discussed this in the last class. Not only Prahlad was fully purified of any remnant traces of the modes of material nature, but his whole body was so overwhelmed with ecstatic devotion. We discussed this also in the last class, how this transcendental touch is so important for us to be able to actually cross over. Now, of course, it's not necessary for transcendental touch means that the Lord literally has to come with his hand and place on the head. But that final crossing the boundary, you can come up to immigration on the border of Viraj. But that entry pass to cross over, Maya will look at the Lord. Maya is sitting at immigration checkpoint. Maya will say at the Lord, should I let him in? Should I not? So no matter how hard we work, and the Bhagavatam mentioned this very clearly, Aruyya krichena param padam tatha patanti adho anadrita yushmadangraya. Those who refuse deliberately out of their envious attitude to take shelter of your lotus feet, even though they approach the supreme destination, they fall down again. Because when Maya looks at the Lord looks in the other direction. Because the Lord is saying, Lord, ye yathamam prapadyante. You wanted to do it on your own. You don't want to take my shelter. Okay. I'm just reciprocating. It's not that the Lord is angry or envious of anyone. The Lord is always neutral. So Prahlad is so ecstatic and he starts offering such wonderful prayers. And the Bhagavatam also says, just like in the case of Dhruva, Prahlad was so much filled with transcendental knowledge when that divine touch happened. And he was so thrilled, so happy. Very beautiful prayers he starts offering. And this particular chapter is so relevant because of these very profound prayers which give deep spiritual insights. I have mentioned this many times, but I'll repeat it nonetheless. It's good. Prabhupada says repetition is good, but very briefly, prayers of great souls have three parts to it. All prayers or all good prayers have three parts to it. First can be one of the two, but one expresses one's fallen condition and insignificance and subordination in front of the Lord. Second, one glorifies the Lord, his power, his qualities, his compassion. And finally, oh Lord, please be kind to me also. Asking. Oftentimes we are so keen on the asking, we forget all other things. We sometimes go to the Lord with an attitude of, I deserve this. This is my list. Please make sure you deliver this quickly. The great souls say water always flows from the higher level to the lower level. So the more we put the Lord at a high pedestal and ourselves at an insignificant level, the easier for the mercy to flow. We go to the Lord with a mentality of entitlement, with the mentality, oh, I did so much, so I deserve this. Then it is going to be very difficult to attract the Lord's mercy. Because actually, if we carefully analyze based on revealed scriptures and the words of these great souls as revealed through the Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita and other scriptures, actually Lord's mercy cannot be purchased by any amount of activity. So actually it is best to not do business with the Lord because we will be in big loss. Because actually we cannot purchase. No matter what we do, if we do not have a loving attitude, a humble attitude, a proper service attitude, we cannot attract one smile of the Lord. But if we have the right attitude, even though we are failing and full of faults and dropping at every step, but making some effort sincerely to please the Lord, we can still expect the Lord's attention and smile and favor. This is very important. Being humble in spiritual life is a non-negotiable parameter. So in case we are struggling with our false pride, this is a reminder for us. Prahlad, who's so great, just imagine, we discussed this the last time also, that Prahlad is so great that what Brahma, Shiva and Lakshmi couldn't do. It's a small boy. They, the masters of the universe, practically, the out of the Trinity, Shiva and Brahmaji, please, you go and even the Lord's wife, Lakshmi Devi, felt that I have not seen the Lord in this form. I don't think I should approach him in this mood. So in the early part of his prayers, Prahlad Maharaj actually, with great humility, he expresses his incapability. And we discussed that in the last class. I'm born in the family of demons. What is my quality? Here are big personalities, Brahma, Shiva, and so many other devatas. They could have so much seva. What am I? 5-year-old boy. That too the son of Hiranyakashipu. Always in the family of demons. But oh Lord, you are so kind. You gave me the blessing that you put your hand on my head, that hand which has not even gone on the head of Brahma and Shiva. You put that hand, your lotus hand on my head. So devotee always feels very, very great. We never thinks that, well, I did so much devotion. No, this was expected. It's just a matter of time. It just happened today. It's okay. Because actually, this is the truth. We cannot purchase the favor of the Lord through any other means than just out of humble service, pleasing Him and invoking His compassion and affection for us, by which He will grant us that kind of a benediction. We are now coming to that part of the prayers of the Lord, and Krishna willing, we will complete the chapter today, part 2, roughly around verses 27-28 onwards. I think we completed up to 30 the last time. But I'll just pick up from around that. Now Prahlad Maharaj is glorifying the position of the Lord. He has expressed his insignificance predominantly in the early section. Not that there is no glorification of the Lord. Predominantly he has expressed his insignificance. And now he is glorifying the Lord. Oh Lord. And we discuss some of the things which Prahlad says, oh Lord, actually, some people may say that, oh, you are partial and that's why you have killed Hiranyakashipu. But no, you are simply reciprocating with how he approached you. You are reciprocating with me based on how I approached you. What fault is there on your part? He had the same opportunity. In fact, I gave him, he doesn't say this, but in bracket, I gave him all the instructions that I learned from Narad Muni. My Narad Muni, actually all credit for this glorious outcome and all the blessings I am getting today rests with Narad Muni. Please, my Lord, I want to eternally remain indebted and a humble servant of my spiritual master. See, this is the gratitude. Prabhupada would often speak about this and compare Mayavadis with Vaishnava disciples. Prabhupada would say that Mayavadi's attitude, I'm not saying each and every Mayavadi, but oftentimes, attitude, because they think I will become God. They will say, oh, now I need Guru because I'm still new in spiritual life. Once I become advanced, I don't need Guru. Once I've climbed up, then I can kick the ladder. I don't need the ladder. But that is not the attitude of pure souls. And Krishna very much appreciates this attitude of humility, where a devotee always remains grateful and a humble servant of his spiritual master, no matter how much advancement he makes. And you'll see this culture across Srimad Bhagavatam, isn't it? all great souls, right? Narad Muni comes, Ved Vyas, who's an incarnation of the Lord, offers obeisances to Narad Muni. Shukadev Goswami is learning from his father Vyasdev, also Paramhamsa. Parikshit Maharaj is another Paramhamsa who's taking shelter of Shukadev Goswami. So many great souls. But you'll never see them saying, now let's sit together next to each other on the same seat. We are both we are both equal. So that kind of a competition is a material competition. So we want to continue this discussion of how these beautiful prayers evolved. So Prahlad is so clear. He identifies himself by saying, I was actually rotting away in material existence in a deep dark well full of snakes. This is a very common example which is given in scriptures. Deep dark well. Why deep dark well? Because once a person falls into a deep dark well which is without water, one cannot come out on his own. He needs help from somebody to pull him out. So I was saved by the grace of Narad. Then, from verse 30 onwards, he starts glorifying the transcendental nature of the Lord. And he says, Oh Lord, you are the source of the creative potency. In fact, before anything existed, you existed alone. And your creative potency from which all manifestation happens was all within you in potential form. And from you, you have manifested. All creation, maintenance, dissolution comes from you. You exist before creation, during creation, after creation, and you remain independent of creation. Because this whole matter of creation is managed by your external energy. And actually, in one sense, this external energy, which is composed of the three modes, is your energy. And being your energy, it is in one sense an extension of you. It is not different from you. That's why ultimately, O Lord, what exists in all existence, externally and internally, is you alone. And we discussed this briefly also in our last class, how a devotee in the state of perfection develops this vision in full. Krishna describes this very nicely. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mayi pashyati. He who sees me in everything and everything in me. For him, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. That is the vision. That is the vision when one develops. One is full of love. One is never forgetful of the Lord. Because wherever one sees Krishna. Ito narsingo parto narsingo yato yato yami tato narsingo bahi narsingo hruday narsingo. Narsingam adim sharanam prapati. This is the vision. Narsinga, Rama, what is there? My Lord is everywhere. Chaitanya Charitamrita also has a beautiful verse to this effect, which says, everywhere the pure devotee sees his Ishta Deva Murti. Sees his Ishta, Radhesham, everywhere, manifest in different ways. This is ultimately what is different. I am part of him. Everything else is coming from him. What is there beyond him? And that is why everything is actually meant for his divine service. And then very beautifully, Prahlad Maharaj continues to describe. He says, Oh Lord, yes, this energy comes from you and is used for creation, but you stand aloof from the energy. You and the energy are different. Yes, in one sense, the energy and you are same, but at the same time, it is different because the energy undergoes changes. Creation, maintenance, dissolution. But you stand aloof, unaffected by the changes which happen in the material. And then that beautiful example, which we also briefly mentioned in the last class, we ended with that. From the seed comes a tree. And when the tree is developed, sometimes the seed becomes practically invisible. So, Lord, you are the root of all existence. But sometimes it's so difficult for us living entities to understand that You are the real cause. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. You are the Sarva Karana Karanam, the ultimate cause of all causes. Those who are wise, they are able to understand that you are the ultimate cause. Actually, this whole creation, my Lord, you are aloof, you are unaffected. Not only are you aloof and unaffected, you are actually just sleeping in your Yoga Nidra with half closed eyes. For you, it is play. You're not sitting down, okay, where is my project plan? Okay, where is my team? Do I have enough resources? Am I behind schedule? What I have to do? Oh, I did this wrong. Let me fix. No. Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate Swabhaviki Jnana Balakriya Cha. Swabhaviki, that's the Lord in his Yoga Nidra. And Prahlad Maharaj says, for the sake of others, oh Lord, your Yoga Nidra is not like our sleeping. We go into mode of ignorance. Then we sleep. You are always transcendental. As Karanodakshay Vishnu, in that form, you are transcendental. You are not even touching material nature, but you're just glancing on it, injecting the inactive material nature and agitating it with your Kala Shakti. And by that agitation, creation is put into motion. That is your potency. And you continue to sleep. That's why sometimes this creation is known as a dream of God. Even though we don't like to use that phrase very well, because sometimes dream means as if it is unreal. Prabhupada says, no, the world is very real. But dream in the sense the Lord is half sleeping and, is just casting a glance and, everything gets created and then eventually gets unmanifested. It's a temporary energy, just like the dream is a temporary creation of the mind. So this material manifestation is a temporary creation, real but temporary creation of the Lord's external potency. Agitated through the Kal Shakti, and so many universes emanate, and in each universe, there's Garbhodakshay Vishnu, then from his navel, Brahma comes, Then there is, on the Garbhodak ocean, there's a Shesh, on the top of which there is this whole Bhumandal disk, and all these planetary systems are created. He briefly describes Prahlad Maharaj. This whole process is glorifying the power of Lord. Because this is how we understand the greatness of God. One breath and unlimited universes. Within each universe, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, so many divisions. We have 14 planetary systems. And our universe is a very small universe. Just like from different banyan tree seeds, big banyan trees grow. Banyan trees have huge number of seeds, and from each of them has the potential to produce so many more banyan trees. Like that, all these universes have been manifested. Oh Lord, you are so great. Even the Brahma that you created, who's standing here, even when he was created on the lotus flower, he also didn't know what to do. He also went into the water, Garbhodak ocean, trying to find the source of the lotus, but couldn't find. Just like I said earlier, when the seed fructifies, the original seed cannot be seen. You are in a transcendental form. He couldn't find you. He was like a child born from a mother but couldn't find the mother. So finally, when he was unable to determine his source and the purpose of his existence, he took shelter of the lotus flower and performed austerities because of your inspiration. And after being purified by those austerities for many hundreds of years and pleasing you through his devotional meditation, he received your grace. He could see you, the cause of all causes, face to face. He could shake his hand with you. Okay, that was discussed in the previous cantos. The first shake hand was by Lord Hari to Lord Brahma. Very interesting. So if somebody asks me, where did the practice of shake hand begin? Of course, the Western shake hand and Lord Vishnu's shake hand may be different. But he did extend his hand and hold his hand. It's not literally described as a shake hand in the same way that we do. that transcendental touch. Remember, we just discussed about transcendental touch. The Lord touching Narsimhadev, touching Prahlad on his head. Lord Hari touching Brahma. And by that transcendental contact, Brahmaji achieved transcendental bliss. He received all the powers to execute his service. And then, oh Lord, very soon after creation, you again appeared. You are so kind. Not only are you the cause behind creation, but you also take active part in its maintenance. You appeared as Hayagriva, the horse-headed demon, where you killed the two demons, Madhu and Kaitaba, who were representative of the modes of Rajogun and Tamogun. And as Hayagriva, you also secured back the Vedas and gave the knowledge of the Vedas back to Lord Brahma. You are so great. There are so many of these beautiful pastimes which are all transcendental and so glorious. So many appearances you have taken, my Lord. You take birth in the transcendental birth in the species of humans, in the species of animals, tortoise, devatas, and you keep on doing this yuge yuge, in yuga after yuga, out of your kind disposition to help maintain the principles of religion across various planetary systems and to destroy demoniac forces. Oh Lord, but one thing, this is a very interesting thing, Prahlad says. Even though you take birth in every yuga, in the age of Kali, you do appear, but you do not display yourself or openly declare yourself to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In bracket, you come as Lord Chaitanya. Right? But he hints, oh Lord, you are known as Three Yuga, because in three yugas your incarnations are very clearly known. But in Kali Yuga, it's not easy to ascertain who it is, because deliberately you come in the form of a devotee. And beyond this material world, my Lord, there is the unlimited Vaikuntha planets. Vaikuntha, no anxiety. My mind, O Lord, is full of so many sinful and lusty desires. I am always troubled with dualities of happiness and distress. Because Prahlad is saying this out of his humility. Full of lamentation and fear. I am always wanting more and more material enjoyment and money. So, Lord, I am so much hankering to attain transcendental status. But how will I actually achieve such a status that I can always be able to discuss your wonderful transcendental forms, qualities, names, and pastimes? And then Prahlad starts praying as if he's a conditioned soul. He says, my Lord, and actually this prayer, relates to conditioned souls like us. He says very beautifully, actually, oh Lord, my position is like a person who has many wives. Sometimes some people fancy, oh, if I could marry many wives, I would have a wonderful life. So Prahlad is saying, having many wives is a torture because all wives will be pulling the husband in their own direction by trying to attract him in their own way. Similarly, for a human being whose condition, his various senses and his various mental desires are pulling him continuously in various directions. The tongue wants taste, the skin wants sex pleasure, the nose wants to smell something, the mind wants all kinds of concocted desires, glories, and success, and fame, and so on. And because of that helter-skelter, the living entity is running, hoping against hope to find that illusory happiness, but he never gets it and just becomes embarrassed. Oh Lord, my position is like this. I'm always embarrassed because of this lack of purification. But you are never affected, my Lord. You are on the other side of the river of death. You are trapped in the Martya realm. A Brahma Bhuna Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. Up to Brahma Loka there is death. All planets. But you are beyond death. And you only can deliver us from death. And you are on the other side. Please cast your merciful glance. Look upon us. Only by your causeless mercy and compassion we can be delivered and we can be maintained. And what is difficult for you, my Lord? I just described how, with your great power, you are manifesting, creating, maintaining all these universes. And especially for those like us who are trying to engage in your devotional service, O Lord, what difficulty it is for you to deliver us. So please, you are Dina Bandhu, you are Jagatpati, you are the friend of the fallen and especially affectionate to your devotees. So those of us who are engaging in your devotional service, please be kind to us and engage us, and deliver us from this material existence. But, oh Lord, one thing I must say, that your devotional service is so great. It's so great that by the mercy of Narad Muni, whatever I have learned, I put into practice, and whatever devotional service, when I am absorbed in it, which I am by the grace of my Guru, my fear of material existence goes away altogether. That's the glory of your devotional service. And why is that happening? Why does that fear go away? Because I am always absorbed in the thoughts of your glories. So here Prahlad Maharaj is giving a very important insight and hint that even in this material world, if we want to remain on a transcendental platform, we want to be in Vaikuntha while physically here, which means we want to be in Vaikuntha consciousness and the consciousness of no anxiety, the consciousness of fearlessness. The solution is to be fully absorbed. So actually, O Lord, while I'm praying and I want to be delivered, but actually, even if I don't go immediately into Vaikuntha, for me, O Lord Narsimha, it's not a big deal. Because by the grace of my spiritual master, through the process of devotional service, I'm actually always absorbed in thinking of you. And by that absorption, material nature has no impact on me. I don't suffer. Even though I'm in this world, I don't suffer. I'm fearless. So, for me to go back to the Vaikuntha, not so much urgent, but my Lord, my concern is not just for myself. My concern is you look around all these materialistic fools and rascals, these demons. They are making big, big plans to enjoy in this world. They do not know what kind of misery and frustration awaits them. They've been suffering earlier. They are suffering now. They will continue to suffer in this unending, hopeless endeavor to try to find happiness, in trying to enjoy themselves with their extensions, their families and their societies and their countries, whatever group and affiliation they associate themselves with because of their deluded false ego. It's a hopeless case. My heart pains, my dear Lord, to see how they are suffering now and that how they'll continue to suffer. I feel so concerned for them. So I'm not so worried about myself. I'm worried about them. And I'm also, my Lord, Narsimha, I feel sad. I see so many saintly people. But most of them are sitting in Himalayas, sitting deep within holy dhams and forests and caves and they are taking care of their own sadhana. They are trying to perfect and liberate themselves and go back to Godhead. But if all the great souls sit like this, who's going to save them? Who's going to save all these people here? These sadhus, these sannyasis are not coming to the big cities and towns. They are meditating with vows of silence. They are not interested in delivering in others. But, oh Lord, I don't want to be in that category. I really feel whatever benefit I have got, the mercy I received from my spiritual master, I want to reciprocate by giving that knowledge and extending that compassion to all living entities. Because I know for a fact that unless they become Krishna conscious, these materialistic persons, they have no hope. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. They are never going to be able to escape this unending cycle of birth, old age, disease, death. They may just jump from one material desire to another, to another, to another, like that. Manorathe nasati dhavato bahihi. Based on their concocted material desires, thinking I'll be happy like this, I'll be happy like that. They'll go on, life after life after life, jumping from one goal to another, never finding happiness and always remaining frustrated. So, my Lord, that thought is so painful to me that I'm not so keen right now to even go back to Godhead. And it's not a big deal for me because I am already feeling transcendence by being absorbed in your thoughts. So, let me remain here and work towards bringing them to your lotus feet. Very beautiful prayer. And this prayer was so pleasing to Lord Narsimha. Because Lord Narsimha, Lord Hari is feeling so much compassion for the conditioned souls that whoever on behalf of the Lord takes up the service to help other conditioned souls revive their Krishna consciousness, the Lord feels very obliged to them. Because the Lord feels this is my department, but somebody is coming to help me in my department. And he appreciates the intervention of devotees even more because the devotees can do things to intervene which he himself cannot do. The Lord cannot be going on the roads and, speaking and approaching living entities the way preachers can do. So the Lord feels very, very grateful. He feels, oh, what I cannot do, they are doing. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita towards the end, the Lord says that there is no one more dear to me than he who shares this knowledge amongst my devotees. So Prahlad Maharaj says this. It's explained in the next chapter. The Lord is very pleased by this kind of an attitude. And when the Lord sees this kind of an attitude in a devotee, an attitude of compassion, an attitude of gratitude for the mercy they have received, and that inner drive to share that compassion with others, the Lord is so pleased that He gives such special mercy to such souls that even if they have many shortcomings, they have a much higher chance of being delivered from material existence and achieving the lotus feet of the Lord than those who are deep within the Himalayas or the forest and much better controlled in their senses, much better fixed in their meditation on the Lord. So this is more difficult. To remain in cities and towns and continue to practice either in Grihastha ashram or even as a brahmachari or a sannyasi, whatever, to remain in cities and actively interact with people and run a mission to save conditioned souls is actually so much more difficult. Not just difficult because of the exertion involved, that is one aspect, but being in an environment where modes of passion and ignorance are predominant and everywhere and distractions everywhere, it is such a big risk that the devotees take for themselves out of their compassion and the feeling of gratitude that they have towards Guru and Gauranga. And Krishna so much appreciates this kind of attitude in the heart of a devotee. And Prahlad is personifying that kind of an attitude. So wonderful. Oftentimes we say in ISKCON, we say, Prabhupada was very nicely situated in Vrindavan. He had taken sannyas, renounced from the material world. He could have sat in Radha Damodar temple, just done bhajan, being absorbed in Vrindavan, gone back to Godhead. Did he need to do anything to come to the US, go through so much trouble? Is it easy to set up a worldwide movement? Is it easy to preach to mlechas and yavanas? So much inconvenience and hassle. But he did that all as a labor of love for Guru and for Krishna. And that's why he's glorified today as Prabhupada. He at whose feet Even the other Prabhus, the other Acharyas sit. He's the Acharya of the Acharyas. Because this kind of a feat is unparalleled in the history. He's like a modern day Prahlad. So after expressing his heart in this way, Prahlad Maharaj reveals another insight about why these living entities are so conditioned. He says the main problem is that the conditioned souls are attached to this itch of the skin, not the regular itch. There's another itch which is called as sex desire. So sex desire is also called as an itch because just like if we get an itch on the hand, we scratch. So when there is a itch of sexual desires, then there is mithuna. Mithuna means rubbing between two bodies where there is union. So from that word mithuna, which means rubbing, comes of the word maithuna, which means copulation. So that itch, which apparently gives the highest form of material happiness, so binding. Actually, it is the source of such distress. But these foolish misers, for that little happiness, to undergo so much pain. The Brahmanas who are learned, they know the trick. Maya. They control their senses. They know for this pleasure I should not. They are regulated. Even though they are married, they are regulated. But those who are blindly trying to enjoy material nature, the adhira, the uncontrolled suffer, but the dhira, controlled ones, are able to advance on the path of liberation. And ultimately, O Lord, without taking to the process of devotional service, even if one follows various other paths of liberation, 10 which are prominently mentioned, remaining silent, not to speak to anyone, observing various kinds of vows, developing Vedic knowledge, doing tapasya, studying the Vedas, doing the Varnashram duties, teaching Shastra, staying in a solitary place, chanting mantras, being absorbed in meditation, all these are considered popular spiritual practices. Unfortunately, people with uncontrolled senses just make a show of all these things. They act like sadhus, but they are not actually controlled in their senses. That's why they are making a farce, a false show of spiritual advancement. Excuse me. But ultimately, it is devotional service, my Lord. Ultimately, the devotee understands how you are actually the principle behind all existence, whether it is earth, fire, water, air, ether, the five senses, the mind, intelligence, false ego, the Panchaparanas, ultimately all subtle and gross manifestations, you are driving it, you are controlling it, it is coming from your energy and you are both the source and ultimately the resting place of this. In fact, actually it is nothing but you. So my dear Lord, that is why those who are really intelligent, they know that they have to cross over these three modes of material nature, and it is not possible for, what to speak of humans, even devatas, to cross over these modes. Because without crossing these modes, actually, O Lord, it's not possible to understand your personality, because your personality is not a matter of the modes, is not material. It cannot be figured out and understood by intelligence. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschashmi tatvata tato mam tatvato gyatva vishate tad anantaram. Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says that I can be understood as I am only through devotional service. Because understanding transcendental subject matter is not a matter of perceiving or intellectualizing by material mind and intelligence. Nayam atma balahinena labhya Na medhaya na bahuna shrutena. Neither by intelligence nor by study can transcendental things be understood. Not even the soul. What to speak of the Lord? That is why those who are intelligent, my Lord, actually engage in your devotional service. That is the real way. Hmm? That's why, my Lord, huh, it is my conclusion. O Purushottam, O best of all persons, I offer my obeisances to you and I declare it boldly that without rendering devotional service to you, especially six kinds of devotional service, offering prayers, dedicating the results of all activities to you, worshipping you nicely, acting on your behalf, doing seva for you, always remembering your lotus feet, and always hearing about your glories. These six are the path of the Paramhamsas. This is the express highway back home, back to Godhead. So, like this, Prahlad Maharaj pauses in his prayer at this particular point in time. So, he expresses his insignificance, he glorifies the Lord and his potency, he glorifies the path of devotional service, he invokes the mercy of the Lord. At the same time, he says, I want your mercy. Yes, I want to be delivered, but my more urgent request is not for me to go to Vaikuntha. I am absorbed in devotional service. It's not a big deal for me, here or there. Prabhupada would say this often. For a pure devotee, whether he's here or he's there is no difference because he's fully absorbed in Krishna. He doesn't feel the pangs of material existence. But I am concerned about. So Prabhupada would oftentimes also say that the only pain for the pure devotee is the pain of the compassion that he feels for the suffering conditioned souls. Our pain is what? Our frustration, right? Our material, our frustration of our unfulfilled material desires. Whatever we wanted that we couldn't get, we get frustrated. Whatever we don't want, what we get frustrated. But these things are not an issue for the liberated souls. What is their issue? I am experiencing so much bliss, but these fools, they continue to suffer life after life after life. They don't even know that the path they are on is simply a path of suffering. And unless I intervene or devotees intervene, how are they going to get out of this illusion? So the devotees take it upon themselves to be an intervention in the life of conditioned souls. Try to shake them up a bit. So at this particular point, Narad Muni, who's narrating this beautiful pastime to Yudhishthira Maharaj, who says that when Prahlad Maharaj prayed like this, Narsimhadev actually became so pacified because of these beautiful transcendental prayers made by Prahlad. The Lord gave up his anger and he became so kind to Prahlad. During his Dandavat obeisances, the Lord started speaking to him. He said, Oh, my dear Prahlad, O most gentle one, O best of the family of Asuras, may there be all good fortune to you. I am so pleased with you for everything, including the prayers that you have offered just now. And please understand, I am Bhakta Vatsal. I love to fulfill the prayers of my devotees. In bracket, even though the Lord doesn't say here, but I still don't fulfill those prayers of my devotees which will actually cause them problems. Sometimes you say, Oh Lord, God loves to fulfill, but He's not fulfilling my prayer because we don't know what to ask for. Either we are asking for the wrong things or we are asking for things which are so much higher than what we are qualified for. So how we can expect that? We should know what to ask for. We should ask for the association of devotees. We should ask for purity of purpose. We should ask for association. We should ask for taste in the holy name. We should ask for opportunity to read, hear and study Bhagavatam and other scriptures in the association of devotees. Guru Seva, Vaishnav Seva, Bhagavat Seva, Bhagwan Seva. If you see across the Bhagavatam, this is the kind of requests that great devotees are doing. Has any of one of them said, Oh Lord, take me back, come back to Godhead. Can you please send the plane now? No. They are asking for perfection in the means of perfection. Because they know if they have the right ticket, they will reach their destination for sure. Very soon. So, Narsimhadev, I'm so pleased with you. It is my pastime. I have manifested so many living entities, and I am their maintainer and well-wisher. It is my pastime to fulfill their desires. Elsewhere in the Upanishads it is said, right? Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yo vidadati kama. The one is fulfilling the desires, maintaining and fulfilling the desires of the many. My pastime. And I'm so excited to give benedictions to you. I'm so pleased. I love to give benedictions and I'm so excited to give benediction to you. Ask what you want. Devotees and sadhakas and even materialistic people are chasing for benedictions from the Lord. But here the Lord is excited. He's telling Prahlad, ask. And even before Prahlad can even say anything, the Lord actually even starts blessing him immediately. May you have a long life, Prahlad. I am so happy with you. No one can understand me and appreciate me without pleasing me. And one who has pleased me, Prahlad, for him nothing more remains to be achieved. Because all perfection will be his. There is no longer any reason for him to lament if he has pleased me. You are so fortunate, Prahlad, that you have achieved the state that you are in. Because you have understood that secret which only very few wise people know. Because wise people are always engaged in trying to please me because they know. And they can approach me and please me in all mellows, in various rasas. If they manage to please me, they know I am the only person who can fulfill all their desires. The true desires, the highest desires, which will grant eternal happiness and satisfaction. And after saying this, Narad Muni concludes this chapter by making a comment to Yudhishthira Maharaj. He says, even though Lord Narsimhadev showed so much excitement and eagerness to give benedictions to Prahlad, Prahlad did not immediately, check his pockets for his bucket list of items of what he wanted to ask. Even though Prahlad says he was allured by the Supreme Lord, who was willing to give him all benedictions because of his unalloyed devotional service, he did not want any material benediction for any kind of sense gratification. Because Prahlad was not saying these prayers theoretically. Right? We all, when we speak, we say this theoretically. We may have a little insight because of our spiritual practices and the blessings of the Vaishnavas and the Lord, some insight into the miseries of the material existence. But we will not have that kind of a purity of purpose like what Prahlad had. Prahlad was thoroughly convincing. He could absolutely see through the futility of material existence. Inclination to ask. It was not that he was controlling. Oh, my Guru has told me don't ask for material desire. Oh, material desire is cause of suffering. We are trying to remind ourselves of spiritual instructions like this. He could see through the illusion of material nature. He wasn't deluded in the least. And Narad Muni glorifies Prahlad. He is the best in the family of the Asuras. Because even though Asuras are always aspiring for material happiness, Prahlad had no inclination whatsoever. So, having said that, the chapter concludes. The next chapter continues this conversation of how Prahlad responds to this request and where he shows his heart of his disinterest for any material benediction. The conviction of the pure devotee is that if I'm engaged in devotional service always, that is already perfection of happiness. What else is there to ask for? That's why Rup Goswami, Nectar of Devotion, gives the definition of strong faith. He says, Shraddha, Shabda Vishwasa Kahe, Sudruda Nishchay, Krishna Bhakti Kaile, Sarva Karma Krita Hai. Faith, the proper understanding of what is faith. Faith is the firm conviction that all that I need to do is engage in pure devotional service of the Lord. And if that I do properly, everything else is done. So that faith is a very high attainment. Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita. Because Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Yejana Paripasate Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam Yogakshemam Vahamyaham. If somebody is thinking, if he is too absorbed in devotional service, how will his needs be taken care of? Don't worry. I am creating his list of what he needs and what needs to be preserved. It's no longer his problem, it is my problem. But that level of faith, only very, very great exalted souls have. Now, this is not to say that we have to try to pretend to be on that platform. If we are not there, we should do what needs. We should continue to do in a dharmic way whatever needs to be done according to the varnashram duties and try to dedicate themselves to the Lord and continue with our sadhana. But this is the standard that we are aspiring for. That standard where one is no longer concerned about his maintenance. Where he knows that the Lord will take care of his maintenance. Even if there is no food, yes, the Lord will provide. That is the state that we are all aspiring to attain. Okay, so I'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions or comments? Yeah. Can I start with? Yeah, Sudhir Sundar Prabhu, you want to ask first?
Yes, can Prabhu?
Can. Go ahead.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu,
Hare
as practicing devotees, okay, or as you were telling that those who are already very, very elevated, they don't have to pray to the Lord for anything, because by doing devotional service, the Lord has already taken charge of your life, and then He will know what to give and what not to give. So, like us, I mean, like, is it a safe approach that when we pray, like you were using that example? Of course, we will first of all pray to the Lord that we are very fallen, and also use this kind of approach and ask whatever we think we want to ask, or the other approach, as you were telling, don't pretend, just be yourself, and what is necessary. What will be what is that?
best approach.
Better approach. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So actually, yeah, best thing is to act according to our advancement. Yeah, if we act more advanced than what we are, we only get frustrated. Okay, so it is very important to be honest in front of the Lord. So most of us are not on the platform that intellectually, while we all accept, I don't think any one of us doubt that the Lord knows everything what we need and He will do what is needful. But when we go through challenges where things come which we don't want to come, and they are big things in our assessment, it disturbs us. Or if we really hanker for something, it may not be sinful, it may not be gross sense gratification. Sometimes in life you really want something. I just wish my son gets married to a devotee. Oh Lord, I really wish I get rid of this loan that I have so I can practice spiritual life nicely. Oh Lord, how I wish I had a car so I could regularly come to temple without difficulty. I mean, semi spiritual desires. Of course, oftentimes these are not fully spiritual; they are like mixed. But it's okay. So when we are bothered by this and when we are not on that platform, it is good to express our heart to the Lord. It is good. It will not only relieve us of that burden, but when we honestly express our heart to the Lord, oh Lord, this is what I'm thinking. I'm not very sure whether this is the best thing, but this is what I'm feeling, that perhaps this may be a good idea if I can avoid this or I can get this. So I'm just I'm expressing my heart to you. You know it. It's not that I need to tell you, but I just feel you are also the Supreme Father and Mother. So I want to express my heart to you. So this is my request. This is my thinking, and I'm thinking this will be good. So please consider it. If you think it is good for me, then I'll be very grateful if you can sanction this. Maybe I'm not qualified for it, but what is not possible by your mercy? What is not possible by your mercy? When we approach the Lord like this, two things happen. One is we reduce the pressure on our heart and head. Second thing, we are very honest with the Lord, and the Lord likes this because the Lord knows exactly what is going on in our heart. Don't pretend. Don't try to act smart. Even when we repeat the prayers of great souls, we know, we are not really on the level of that, but we are just repeating for purification. The second thing is we develop a wonderful relationship with the Lord. And if we say these prayers with a devotional mentality and sincerity, 100% the Lord listens. 100%. And actually, it is the nature of the Lord, not just for pure devotees. The Lord is actually eager to satisfy all devotees, all sincere devotees' desires, even though they are still not fully purified. But sometimes He may withhold granting if He sees that it doesn't fit His plan for us. That this is not the best thing. You may think this is best for you, but He knows much more. He knows that sometimes some things we have to endure, even though unpleasant, because it will eventually help us to grow in devotional service. So that faith is important. We can express our heart, but we must leave. We cannot insist to the Lord, do it. I want you to do it. If you don't do it, I am not coming to temple next Sunday. So it's not a big deal, I think it's good. It develops a nice relationship. The Lord also likes to hear devotees reveal their heart and hear. But after expressing your heart, we have to leave it to the Lord's infinite intelligence and grace. Whatever outcome, we have to accept it. That is the best mentality. So my advice will be, keep praying, keep expressing your heart. It is okay to even tell the Lord, oh Lord, I think like this. I'm not quite sure whether it's good or not. But I just thought I should mention to you. You see what is, but if you think this can be accommodated, this will work, then, it may be. So, prayers are a form of devotional service. And if you pray with prayers and adopting these three limbs, how insignificant I am and dependent on you I am, how great you are, and this is my humble request. And ultimately, stepping back and saying, oh Lord, you are the final, judge and giver or withdrawer of benedictions. Right? So, I have done my part of submitting the request to you, but I accept whatever outcome you give. So I think it's good. It's nice. So if we can withhold and be peaceful, that is best. But otherwise, this is also wonderful. I have so many times. If you ask, for me personally, I talk to the Lord all the time, and I also complain. But I complain philosophically. I know I complain just to vent out my frustration, to release that pressure. Huh? Not so much of complain. Huh? So it's okay, just like sometimes we go to the father or the mother and we cry and say, oh, this should have happened, it's like this, and all we expect is, the mother or father to just comfort us a little bit, and "Oh, it's okay, all will be well, it's fine, I'm there, no, I'm there, don't worry, everything will be okay, So we see it in that spirit. And of course, I'm very insignificant, but my own experience in this regard is that the Lord is very accommodating, very accommodating. You know, and most of the time, my experience is the Lord has granted almost everything I've asked for. Uh, but at times I see He has withheld, and in due course, I understand why He withheld. So the Lord is, very, very effective. In fact, to that extent, sometimes you just think and the Lord fulfills. Think and the Lord fulfills. Just even sometimes, I have just thought and said, "Oh Lord, if I could get this, and within minute it gets fulfilled, and I'm like feeling so guilty, Oh, I engage the Lord in my service, you know. But the greatness of the Lord is such a small, trivial thing that the Lord listened. What surprised me was He listened and fulfilled immediately, without even, not at a string, give me, just. So these kind of, experiences give us that faith that the Lord is actually actively listening in our hearts. Huh? And especially for devotees, when they are expressing something, He takes it very seriously. That's why as devotees, we should be very careful what we speak, be very careful what we ask for, what we pray, and we should mean every word we say to the Lord. I'm generally very, very, very careful of what I speak to the Lord. You know why? Because if the Lord grants something which I don't really mean, I will get myself into trouble. Anyway, that's a big topic. But yeah, so Prabhu, thank you for that question. So yeah, I think it is best we should pray. This is my humble, especially if it helps us to develop our relationship. And it's okay to share our frustrations, it's okay to cry out to the Lord, when we feel that burden. And it's okay. Even great devotees like Draupadi cried out to the Lord. So, when after the disrobing episode, when Krishna was not there, but later when Krishna came in front of Draupadi, Draupadi chastised Krishna affectionately. She affectionately, because they had a brother-sister kind of relationship. She chastised, where were you? What were you doing? They did this to me, and where were you? My 5 husbands also couldn't help me. Actually, she didn't tell where. She says, what took you so long? Of course, she knew because her sari ultimately came from the Lord, right? To protect her. What took you so long? And Krishna was so affectionate and so sensitive to Draupadi. Krishna did not say, oh, actually it was your karma, but then for a long time you were holding your sari, and then, I was waiting when you'll release and fully surrender. That is all our analysis. And even while all that may be true, what was Krishna's response? Oh, Draupadi, I'm so sorry. I was a little late in coming. Please forgive me. So that is the kind of love and affection that the Lord has for those who are affectionate to Him. So I'm talking about that kind of anger. I'm not talking anger out of material frustration. Huh? So that kind of, frustration, if we share with the Lord, so tired, I'm so frustrated, please help me. Huh? That's it's okay to reveal our heart to the Lord like that. Okay. Prabhu, does that help? Sorry, it was quite a long answer.
Yes, Prabhu. It kind of helps a lot because I mean we kind of go through this every day because we will have 1001 desires in our head. So sometimes it is good to kind of share some of it to the Lord. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. At times I have said such things to the Lord that, later I feel, oh, what did I say? And then I tell the Lord, oh, sorry. Thoda jada bol diya. Please don't get offended. you know. So it happens, right? I mean, we are conditioned souls. We are going through our own struggles and miseries in life. Sometimes we become so emotional about things. But, sometimes we have that tendency to blame the Lord also. And sometimes in a fit in our heart, we may not say it aloud. We pray, oh, you didn't do anything for me. Oh, yeah, I did. But you didn't do this. You should have done like this. And then later we feel, no, Lord, actually, sorry for that. I know actually, I'm going through my own reactions. Out of my frustration, I may have, blamed you. But I know, philosophically, I know that all that I'm going through is actually nothing but a token of my reactions. Actually, you already reduced it. But that also is too much for me. Imagine what would have happened if you had given the whole lot. So this kind of conversations sadhakas will go through. This is natural. So don't feel very frustrated about this. It's natural. It's okay. It is normal. Huh? Through going through this journey and talking to the Lord, you will evolve to the point of accepting the will of the Lord more and more and more. Until eventually we come to the platform of full acceptance and full faith. That's a journey. But just go through it. Keep faith. No matter what happens, our sadhana must continue. Our faith in the Lord must not be broken. Okay. Thank you, bro. Yeah. Suraj, you want to go first? Then I can take Amit probably. Yeah.
Yeah, Prabhuji, this you already addressed, but I have further doubts regarding the 21 generation, right, including the previous 10 and the below 10.
Yeah.
So in Hiranyakashipu, either way, he was destined to be delivered by Lord, right? Prahlad was the instrument and the
Yeah.
past time. So when it comes to our things, the ancestors who have already passed, we can at least pray for them and they can get delivered. But if our upcoming generations, they are not God conscious, will it still help, Prabhu, the next 10 generations?
If we become pure devotees, yes, the next 10 generations will be delivered. Delivered here doesn't necessarily mean that they'll immediately go back to God.
Okay.
So the way it's explained is that if they are already devotees and following, then there's a very good chance they'll go back to God. But otherwise, they will at least receive very special blessings because of that connection with you, if you become a pure devotee. Which means potentially they'll be freed from a lot of their past sins and will get the opportunity to become devotees by getting the opportunity to get the association of devotees. Because that association is the beginning of perfection. Because see, the thing is, the Lord doesn't take anybody back to God unless that is really what they want and the only thing that they want. So the Lord doesn't forcefully take, no, I don't want to go to Vaikuntha, and the Lord comes and takes, yes, you are the son of a devotee, I must drag you. No. Doesn't happen like that.
So, Prabhuji, the devotee connection is guaranteed, not the deliverance, correct?
Deliverance to what extent? Deliverance is guaranteed. But what does that deliverance mean? When we say the word mukti,
Yeah.
okay, the full potential of mukti is pure devotional service. One step below, mukti is liberation from birth and death. One level below is liberation from big miseries. One level below is, you can go like that.
Yeah.
To what extent one is receptive to that mercy, to that extent he can get benefit. You understand? Huh?
Yeah.
But blessing and opportunity will, that special grace of the Lord will be there on all. Huh? But how much they take benefit is up to them. But to some extent or the other, they'll definitely get very special blessings.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Huh? But ultimately it depends on them. It's not purely, it's not a, done deal. The next 10 generations will go back to God. No. If any of the 10 generations take benefit of that blessing and are receptive to it and take to devotional service, they are in a much better situation than us to go back to God.
So Prabhuji, the previous 10 generation, that's in our hands.
They may be anywhere they are, they will still get that blessing. The previous 10 generations, that living entity may not even be, it maybe has taken birth in somewhere else already, but still they will get that blessing.
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
So for pure devotees, 21 generations, for Madhyam Adhikaris, 7 generations, and for Kanishta Adhikaris, 3 generations.
3 plus 3.
No, 3 total.
Okay.
1 plus our plus next 3.
Yeah.
7 is our plus 3, lower 3, 7. And 21 is 10, 10, and ours, 21, like that.
So we are under 3 platform, right? At least.
I am under 3 platform at best.
Then we will not be in any platform. Yeah.
You are all wonderful. There is always immense blessings to those who are connected to the devotees.
Yeah.
I was, and I'm not saying this with any glorification or or trying to say something about myself, but I had an interesting experience. I was talking to my spiritual master at one time, and there was a lot of I was going through some difficulties, and Amara said that your parents will become devotees, guaranteed, 100%. Even though they were actually actively opposed and to the point of actually being active obstacles, they will become devotees, guaranteed. And I said, I don't know how. He said, you don't have to understand how. That's not your problem. So how exactly that works and manifests, we don't know. Some cases it may manifest in this life. Sometimes it may suddenly happen at the time of death. It has happened in the lives of parents of so many devotees. They have suddenly seen Prabhupada at the time of death. They have seen Vishnu Dutas at the time of death just by being connected to devotees. There are many stories like that. Huh? So these are not just empty words. These are serious. The Lord's blessings and the Lord's those are very, very serious commitments that the Lord gives, which He absolutely honors. The Lord's words and the pure devotees' words, the Lord ensures are fulfilled. So these things are so difficult to understand intellectually. That is where faith is needed. So that's why I mentioned many times, while preaching to our family members is one thing, just by our being very, very good devotees and pure devotees, we can do the greatest benediction to our families. So don't be too morose if you cannot immediately transform them the way you would like it to be. Of course, that's wonderful if it happens, but it may not happen necessarily now, immediately. But guaranteed, they will get very, very special blessings. No doubt.
Yeah.
Even those ancestors who may be trapped in hellish species or in Bhuta Preta yonis, they will also be delivered by the devotional service of their descendants. Okay.
Yeah, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Amit Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji,
Yes.
today you discussed the 10 prescribed methods for liberation. And, a lot of them were advocating staying in isolation, remaining silent, not speaking to materialistic people, staying in solitary places. Now, as you also rightly mentioned, in ISKCON, we are actually devotees are actually doing the opposite by living in cities and, preaching to the, general masses at the risk of their own spiritual lives, of course, or their own spiritual progress. But so separately, is that not a violation of what is prescribed in the Shastras about living in isolation?
No, actually, one thing is the 10 things that are mentioned, they are not actually glorified there in that particular verse. In fact, in that verse, Prahlad Maharaj is saying that those will not produce any effect if they are not complemented with devotional service. He's talking about general spiritual principles. He's basically saying spiritual principles devoid of bhakti will not really give way. And he says these kind of principles are adopted by people just to make a show of spirituality without any real devotion. So that principles is not really the top recommendation, at least not in Bhagavad. Maybe in some other traditions it is, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So those,
yeah, because my other question was related to this. Why, because this was sort of contradicting with what the Lord says in the
correct.
Bhagavad Gita in the last chapter, right? That who explains this knowledge, to the general masses. For him, he will at the end come back to me, and there is no person ever more dear to me than him.
Correct. So
Okay,
yeah.
okay, okay. So this is not glorified. Okay.
Yeah. So if you read that verse carefully again, you'll see that that's not a glorification. He's saying that even if you do that, so you'll find many verses in the scriptures, including the Bhagavad and the Gita, this devoid of bhakti is useless. So what it's telling people is, don't be so excited about these principles by themselves, right? If you simply do devotional service adequate, or if you are so attached to these other principles, don't forget to also do devotional service. So it's not so much about listing that. The listing is done in the second last verse, where Prahlad says, what is the path? 6. He mentioned 6 devotional service as the highway of the Paramhamsas, right? Offering prayers, worshipping you, hearing and chanting. Remember the 6 things we just discussed in the second last verse. So that is the recommendation. The previous one is just talking about distinguishing what seems to be very spiritual, but actually is not devotional, but used by spiritualists to make a show of spirituality, but they have no real control over their senses. That is what is being tried to highlight in that particular verse.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. I misunderstood that instruction.
Yeah, correct, right? I mean, you read that translation again, that's the meaning that comes out.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So thanks for patiently standing. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, can I just add one point to see whether my understanding is right? And also, so that means Prabhu at an higher level, you are not only concerned about your own well-being, you are also concerned about others. The living entities and all. Is it something right?
Yes. So yeah. So lowest is those who are interested in themselves. Higher than them are those who are dharmic. Third are those who are interested in their own liberation, and higher than them are those who are devotees and interested in their own liberation. Higher than devotees who are interested in their own liberation are devotees who are interested in being compassionate to others. Right? Yeah. So right now we are being compassionate, or many of us are making an effort to be compassionate, but we are doing it as an extension of our, we may not actually feel so much compassion, but we are doing it as a part of the mission, to express our gratitude to Prabhupada. Yeah? But at one time when we become evolved enough, we'll have that kind of compassion like what Prabhupada has, and what, actual great souls like Prahlad Maharaj and others have. Yeah. So right now when we preach, it's more like, on behalf of Prabhupada, I am sharing this knowledge. We may not have so much compassion.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah, I just went to that verse on Veda base, and it's clarified there. That verse ends with saying that because such persons are falsely proud, these procedures may not be successful.
Correct.
Okay.
Because
Very clear, Prabhuji.
Any practice devoid of devotional service will not give a proper fruit. Yeah. And by the way, another correction, what I said, the second last is not the second last verse. It is verse number 50, the 6 processes of devotional service, which Prahlad recommends: offering prayers, dedicating the results of all activities to the Lord, worshipping the Lord, serving the Lord, remembering the Lord's lotus feet, and hearing about his glories. So that is what is his recommendation. verse 50. Okay,
Thank you.
so thank you, Amit Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So thank you all for patiently listening. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samved Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki. So we'll aim to meet on Tuesday, Krishna willing. Meanwhile, you can continue to pray to the Lord and express your heart.
Hare
In-
Krishna Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Sachi Prem Mataji, Anand Sundari Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Amit and
Thank
Priya.
you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Veena ji, Santanam ji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Sadhu Sundar Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Sapna ji, Sridevi ji, thank you. Indulekha Mataji, Sini ji, thank you. And Suraj, you managed to come on video. Thank you. Suraj and Shalini ji.
Hare
As well.
Hare Krishna.
So you are all doing wonderful seva by connecting so many devotional service. So that is very pleasing to the Lord. So please
All
continue.
your blessings, Prabhu.
Whatever I am getting, I am just sharing what I have heard from others. So that's so. Please continue to do the same. If we all do the same, then we can actually reach out to so many and make so many unfortunate people fortunate, isn't it? Okay, I'll see you all on Tuesday. Srila Prabhupada.